What's up, We the Bros, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the Final Cut Podcast, the podcast dedicated to all things exclusive, behind the scenes, and stories that didn't happen or that didn't exist in the main video, with the sole purpose of giving it its final cut. Today's topic is, I have my sister here. We're going to be talking about 2023 Camp Coker. That was your last race of the year there, and it was also your first race, too. Back in 2022.
Well, yeah, in 2022, yeah.
So, I just want to talk about the day. Obviously, lots of stuff happened in that race, both good and bad, which kind of jump-started where we're at now, medically and physically. So,
Yeah.
just wanted to go ahead and talk about that. So, I guess let's start with Camp Coker. It was your,
Last race, basically.
last race.
Yeah.
Were you nervous going into it since you've already done it before, or?
I guess I was a little nervous just because the last time I was at Camp Coker, I did run into a tree and, yeah, and I, got flown off my four-wheeler, which Camp Coker has a very, very bad reputation with all of our bikes getting broke or something bad happening.
Yeah, Andrew's bike it broke. I had electrical issues. Dad's bike overheated.
Yeah.
You've hit trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of crazy stuff has happened there. It's just a hot place, you know.
For the most part, I wasn't that nervous, but I guess so.
Did you have any issues with the start? I know that was the biggest thing that we were working with or working for off camera. Like I know that we were doing that at the old house, just basically doing a dead start.
Yeah. For that being my third race, I did actually pretty good on the start. I know we've been practicing it, and at that time we had this property, and we were practicing it out here too. So I did pretty good on that for only it being my third race. So.
Okay. So just share your thoughts about the day, from the before the race.
Before the race, I was pretty excited and a little nervous just because I did have a couple of my friends with me, and it was kind of like if I screw up on something, this is going to be really embarrassing. But I didn't really do too bad. But I also was a little nervous just because that past week I did sprain my wrist, and so my wrist was sprained and we forgot to tape it because we were running late, and so yeah, that started off the race pretty bad.
Was there anything specific that you had an issue with? Did the tires make a difference? Did you have an issue running up the ruts or?
No, actually, because before the race, Dad switched out the shocks to soften it up in the back because every single time I hit a bump, it would buck up like I was on a bull. So he softened it up so when I hit a bump or a rut, it was a lot softer and smoother riding, and it didn't give my arms too much.
Didn't we go back to the RFYs on the front?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah, because for the longest time, we kept reading the rule book, and it kept saying that you had to have, stock stuff on it, and that's not the case, because obviously most of the pros don't run stock suspension off of a YFZ or a Honda. But, yeah, I think that made a big difference, because not only is that place notorious for our bikes breaking, but also for the ruts.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get stuck, and you're really at the mercy of where the bike gets taken because of that. Now, for the people that don't know, you did do a pretty interesting barrel roll.
Yeah, it was kind of weird in a sense because I was coming from a straightaway, and then it turned into a sharp turn, and then after that turn, there was a bank, and I went up on the bank too high, and I started falling, and a kid behind me hit the fooler and made it fall on top of me a little bit more. So it was kind of I went, and then I rolled it, and then the kid came behind and hit me, and it rolled on top of me.
Yeah. I wanted to test this anyway. Yeah, you blocked my camera view.
Yeah.
my plastics.
I mean, yeah. It was.
Get on there! Get on there!
Well, that is one of my favorite things about GNCC though, is that there's the supporters there are more than willing to like pick up the
Yeah.
bike.
Yeah, and if I didn't have, if that was like in the middle of the woods and I didn't have nobody to help me, I wouldn't have gotten that thing off me.
No, the 250 is a good bike, but it is slightly heavy
Well, especially for
for
me.
younger people. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with like my wrist that week being sprained, like I could not have lifted that off me. I had a bruise on my leg the size of a softball. It was bad.
Now, Andrew's not here to talk about his perspective of that though, and this is kind of funny. But while you were sitting there, I keep left clicking by mistake. Here, hold on. While you were sitting there, he was talking to me, and he was like, "Yeah, I thought that she was about to pull out in front of someone and push them into the pond, and that would have been absolutely hilarious."
Yeah, that would have like that's like the most nerve-wracking thing is because right before the race, I remember you and Andrew came up to me and you're like, "Do not run into the pond. You can run anybody you want to into the pond, but don't run into the pond because if you run into the pond, you're stuck because the 250 is really hard to get out of water."
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
we've
heavy.
learned that from getting it out of the mud at Carolina Adventure World, water, everything. Like that thing is hard to get out of the water in mud.
There was one clip where we were going to mess around on the riverbed, and it's just Dad driving it towards the water, and you just see it slowly sink. It's just like, bro turned it into a submarine.
Yeah. I
But-
think there was also another time when it was before we had the Raptor and the Suzuki, and we had the Arctic Cat and the old four wheeler, the camo one. I
The
forgot.
Polaris?
Yeah, the Polaris. And we had the 250, and then what other bike? I think we did have the Raptor. We had 4 because I'm trying to remember what we had.
Was that the one where Tom and all them were there?
No, it was like just us 4, me, you, Andrew, and Dad, and we were going on, what's the main trail that y'all go up that's the big hills and you go,
18.
I don't know. I forget what trail it is.
There's also Trail 4 that's like that.
I
the
think
big
it's-
trails.
It's the one near the Diamond Trail. One that is like the trail that you're going up, but then if you come off, it has the big rocks and stuff on them. Forget what it is.
Yeah, that would have to be the Service Road 18.
Maybe, yeah. And so we were going on that, and it was really muddy that weekend, and we were trying to go around because all the side-by-sides were going through it. And I remember Andrew, he was on the 250 at that time, and he went through it, and he got bogged down in it, and it was like so, like, the 250 got stuck, and we were sitting there for 30 minutes, and Dad was trying to get him out with the Polaris, and like everybody was so frustrated because it was so muddy and nobody could get him out.
Yeah. So so medically, I know that you rolled it.
Mhm.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So when I rolled it, I like extended my arm to catch myself, which is a really bad idea. And by doing that, I really I sprained my wrist even more, but I also tore my shoulder. And when I got back, I went to the doctor, and he said my wrist was fine because it was sprained, and like I just had to heal it. But he said my shoulder was felt like it was a little torn, and so he told me to rest it. Well, I'm the stubborn one in the family, so when I get told to rest something, I don't do it, or to ice something, I don't do it, and I'm really bad about that. But I rested it for about like a couple days, and then after that, I was back on the four wheeler, riding around and doing what I wanted to do because I was not willing to wait. And so when I did, I went and I was playing monkey in the middle with a couple of kids at like a camp, and 2 of them landed on top of me, and I overextended my arm and tore it even more. And then, like, I was supposed to let it heal over the summer, and it should have been fine for school, so then I could have done sports because I love doing softball and volleyball. and a bunch of other sports. But those are my two main that I would wanted to do. And so I was in PE for school, and we were playing volleyball, and I overdid it, and like I ended up tearing everything in my shoulder, from my rotator cuff to everything around it and stuff. So I've been out, and I haven't been able to get on the foolers or do anything for months, and that was in the beginning of August, September.
I was like towards the end of last year. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like the beginning of the school year, and so I've missed gym this whole school year, and I'm still not even allowed to go back yet and play.
So I guess the question is now, do you plan on trying to race again? Because by the time you finally get back to it, you'll be with us, like in our
Yeah.
class, the PM riders or the AM riders. We do not race the PM class. I cannot. We don't tango with any of the Walker Fowlers or Bryson Neals or Adam McGill's. No, no.
That'd be funny.
I'd have died by now.
Dad's been asking me the same question. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I would like to go back to racing, but I'm not sure when that will be. So it's kind of like a hold on that, because I'm not going to say yes and be like, okay, I'm going to race as soon as I get better. It's more of like I'm going to wait because
Get a feel for it.
yeah, just because I do want to participate in school sports, and with me wanting to participate in school sports, that would take some of my days of training, because I would have to practice for that. But also, I want to hopefully get a better job than the one I have now, because I don't want to keep working there. And so that would take up most of my time too. And
I was gonna say that, like, back in high school, that was my prime condition, like the best I felt whenever I was in high school and training for sports, because I was like decently. I've always been fat. Let's set the record straight. But I was a skinny fat back then.
yeah.
Now I'm like,
Well, you were mainly muscular back then. You just looked like you had a lot of fat on you, but you mainly had muscle back then because you were on the weightlifting team.
yeah.
And you were doing that like every day. And like you were playing football and baseball too, so you were running and doing a bunch of sports at that time, and soccer.
Yeah. I guess that's just what happens, you don't go pro, so because of that, you don't have that strict workout routine. You just kind of like go throughout the motions,
Yeah, well,
which really sucks.
You also had a chance to play it in, college, but the college that offered you that did not have a football team at that time or a
No.
football field. So I don't even know why they even offered you a scholarship for it. I mean that's good, but like they didn't even have a team for you to do anything on.
Well, I don't think I got a scholarship for that. There was talk about me getting one, but because of COVID, it never happened.
Oh, yeah.
That and also baseball. I was in the process of trying to do some good stuff then. That was like my first season that I was swinging for the fences and actually kept hitting them, so I probably
Yeah.
would have done really well that season. But then COVID hit, and then I think those 2 years really sparked me not wanting to work out because we couldn't. There was nothing you
Yeah.
could do. So because of that, it's got a bad routine that is going to take me a while to break.
Mhm.
And then doing school and working all this junk doesn't really help. But
No. And I know like you and Andrew both have jobs. So like you and Andrew are, trying to work on Fullers while also, doing a job, which none of what we do is free at all and is very expensive. But, that's why y'all work. But Andrew's job is a little less flexible than yours.
Yeah.
Just because of where you work and where he works.
well,
But
that's the beauty of working with family.
yeah. And I mean, Andrew does it, and I think like for Andrew to be able to do it, it's a good opportunity. And I could be able to do that too, but I don't know if I would, because I would want to work longer hours and get paid more, so I'd have more money, because by the time I get to have my car, prices are going to go up.
That's always been my excuse. If I work my myself to the bone now, I can pay for any replacement later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get that. So going back into Camp Coker, Were there anything specific towards the back half of the track that we didn't see, except for on camera, that you want to comment about? Any deep ruts? Any issues there?
Well, there was this one bit where it was right after you go over the little creek, the little bridge that was really freaking scary. It's where you turned off left and you were going through the woods, and then there was just like this really down bit
Oh
where
yeah.
you went down and there was mud, and a couple of kids kept getting stuck there. But there was a way that you could have gone towards the right of it, and there was like an uphill bit. And I always took that bit, and every single time I would see like a bunch of kids stuck down there, and nobody's back there. Like it was like nobody was there. So like you would just be stuck there until another kid got stuck behind you, and you both had to help each other to get out. Like it was quite scary to see how like kids were getting stuck and like nobody was out there to help them.
Now I know that for our race, I know what you're talking about because that's that sketchy bridge that we got a couple cool clips on. Um, going through that, I just kind of plowed through the center of it.
Yeah.
But by the time we finally got to it, there was enough 450s and Raptors to go over it that when you went through it, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But in the morning with the dew and the rain and all that junk, I can't imagine how bad that would have been.
Yeah. It's kind of like how Big Buck was. It
Yeah.
was very muddy and everything was so hard to get around because everybody was getting stuck because it was muddy in the morning.
Plus, there's not too many places to pull off. That's
Yeah.
one of the things I don't like about Camp Coker is that it's once you get through the bottleneck situations or like not once you leave the open fields, you're literally just being put into this like square container that you have to ride in. And if you
Mhm.
get slow or if you falter at all, you're screwed. Like I
Yeah.
was following behind somebody and I kept a good momentum, but whenever he went through the place that I went through, because I stopped and he got stuck, I didn't have enough momentum and just high sided right there
Yeah.
on the center of that.
Yeah. Camp Coker is very hard to pull off in places because most of it's trees and all the trees are really compacted together. So it's hard or like close together. So it's hard to like pull off somewhere. The only way you could pull off is when you got to that top of that hill in the open field and you just pulled off when people were behind you. And like, you know, for 250 with mine, it's really hard to be as fast as the other kids because I have a big huge frame and it's heavy. And theirs is a lot lighter and they can push theirs further than mine. So I would have to pull off a lot because the kids were a lot faster than me because first off it was my third race. I'm not good at racing. Well, for our family, apparently I'm good at it, but
Well, you're definitely more consistent.
yeah, especially with the amount of laps I kept getting. So,
Yeah.
but
I mean, that's the whole name of the game anyway. Consistency is key. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And it was just like it's like you could only pull off at certain spots, and you had to find those fast. And if you didn't, then you were literally getting yelled at the whole entire time, and it's very stressful
It is.
because you can't move nowhere, and people were yelling at you like I can't do nothing.
Yeah. Now, by the time you finally move up, though, if you'll be in our class, I think we have something in play right now that may work in your beneficial to you. Um, it really depends though, because by the time you finally get a chance to race, that may not be yours. It may be Dad's, or it may vice versa. He may be working on his or another
Oh.
one.
Dad and I have talked about that.
Yeah, but that
And
plan has changed like 4 different times.
I know. Me and Dad
It's
have talked about
crazy.
it recent though, and we talked about how he wants me to race on that one. And he says, like, if you still stay in your class by the time you get better, because I'll still be able to race in my class.
Mm.
But he said, if you stay in that class, then you can race it, and I'll race. I'll race it next. But if you're gonna be in the same class as us, then I'll just race mine, and you can race that. And I told him
that is all time based though, because once you turn 16, I think that's when you have to move up. Because Isaiah just moved up, the kid that was in your class,
Yeah.
but he was like really high. The school boys.
Mhm.
He actually participated in the last race and won with a 400DX.
Oh, okay.
So that was crazy. He didn't do too well this last one though. I just got off the phone with him earlier. He went to the general.
Mhm.
Soupy god awful mess. It was 4 people in his class. He did fourth out of 5 people.
Mm.
Apparently his starter solenoid messed up, or like it wouldn't crank his bike. So when everyone took off, he had to run people down, and he only had enough time to run one person down.
Mm.
His class is really competitive. So I
Yeah.
mean, props for him though for running one person down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do that, not with that much of a margin. But yeah, he's one of the people that we got some inspiration from to work on and to do more stuff for you
Mhm.
specifically, because if it's set up properly, then it won't be a problem.
Yeah.
And I know that's been the biggest issue with the RFYs because they work really well. They're very consistent with their springs, but if you're not careful, sometimes it'll loosen because it's gas based. I don't know if there's a leak in it or if it needs to be revalved or something. But like the overtime use that we've had, it slowly turned to crap. so, so now we're looking into either better suspension or a good permanent fix for that one.
Yeah. Well, I told Dad he can race that one, and if I'm in y'all's class, I would just race the 250, just for one race, just because that's the only bike I'm really truly comfortable on. And I know I've been not supposed to, but I've been riding Dad's recently, just to get a good feel of the clutch because the 250
Centrifugal.
is yeah,
Well,
and
we were actually talking about that last podcast. We were looking into trying to get a recluse, because it takes most of the bikes like that and turns them into centrifugal racing, like where
mhm.
it'll engine brake for you, but you
Yeah.
can basically run it without it.
Yeah, and Dad was talking about that to me too, and he said, but the sad thing is it won't fit on that bike.
No, they don't make it, not for that bike at all.
Yeah.
Which is really it's a big bummer for people like you and also like Isaiah, because that would be something that would be awesome for him.
Yeah.
And you obviously, um, but yeah, I don't know why they don't.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Well, it's like, the model that the bike's made in, they don't really, most of they don't really get made anymore. So,
Yeah, Honda doesn't produce four-wheelers. They are talking about coming out with a new LTR and a new TRX 450.
okay.
I don't know if that's because of the Nationals and there not being a Honda show out in Yamaha, like Yamaha being the main competitor.
Mhm.
We've been speculating about that for a while, but whatever lit the fire underneath their tail, I'm super excited about
Yeah.
because that's going to be awesome. Especially since my four wheeler, there's not a lot of bells and whistles on it, so it's nice
Yeah.
to be able to like get a newer one.
Yeah.
That'd be
You
cool.
kind of need it. That bike, it's running, but it's
Consistently new.
it's constantly like the other weekend we were literally riding like all of us and the chain literally fell off.
Yeah, you could shift the whole rear end.
Yeah,
Weird.
that's kind of freaky. And I told Dad because we were on the topic of his Fuller or the other one and racing it. I told him that I didn't like how his Fuller was so light because like even with you on it, like the front end lifts up, and like
It's
with
all
him
body
and
placement.
Andrew, it lifts up too. And I was literally like, the other day I was riding it, and I'm literally sitting there and I'm riding, and I'm like, this thing is terrifying because it's got so much horsepower, but it also lifts up the front end. And like, the horsepower is not the scariest part, it's the front end lifts up when you're riding. And it's like, you could literally be riding in second gear and it lifts up too. That's the scary part, is that like, if I was riding that in the trees in second gear, I would hit a tree and I would fly
Yeah.
because I'm the most accident prone one in our family. And I just have a feeling it would happen.
Yeah, we call that whiskey throttle. It's whenever you're like crack happy and you're like cracking the throttle and it just catches wrong.
Yeah.
The worst part is that is the in between bike between your bike and mine and Andrew's and Dad's. Or no, yeah, no, mine and Andrew's and the Raptor. The Raptor is literally the same engine, just a different frame.
Yeah.
As there's got it's. I mean, not the same engine. Before I get flamed on the
Yeah.
internet for it's not the same engine, but
Yeah.
it close. It's the
Yeah.
same amount of horsepower, just in a different
Yeah.
shell.
That's why I like the Raptor. It's easier to ride in first gear.
Till you ride it for 2
in
hours.
first gear, just because it doesn't lift up on you. Or for me, it don't.
Have you ridden it since we put the 13 tooth sprocket on it?
No, I have not. I got told I'm not allowed to,
Yeah.
just because Dad's is a stretch right now, and I'm not even supposed to be doing that one. And so getting on yours, it would be a no-no.
Well, it's heavy, and if you were to do something stupid, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Dad's front tooth sprocket's a 15, which basically makes the gears longer, so you have more room to run further distances.
That's why I don't have to go into third gear when I'm going around the circle track.
Mine has a 13 tooth sprocket, which means that I have to mess around with more gears and mess around with more RPMs because first gear is about from here to the end of the patio, and then I have to shift. And I can't do anything more than that because then I'd be smacking the rev limiter. It'd just be sitting there blaring the RPMs.
Yeah.
So what that translates to for you is that the problem that you had for the Suzuki times 2. Because then it's like, bah, bah. So you have to be prepared for it, lean into it, kind of thing. But the 450 is the same way. I've been trying to get used to the power band because we just changed the gear ratio on that too. It's now a 13 tooth sprocket with, I believe, a 39 or a 40 tooth rear sprocket, which elongates the gears just a hair, but it still gives me that snappy reaction time I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that's good. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about for Camp Coker? Beginning, end, middle of the race? Anything funny happen?
Oh, I sat there in the middle of the race. I was on my last lap, and my wrist was really hurting me, and I was just like, I can't keep going. Like, I needed to take a break. Excuse me. If I didn't, like, I was gonna really, really mess up my wrist. And so I sat there, and a lady came running up to me, and she was sitting there talking to me, and I literally sat there for about 10 minutes talking to her. So I wasted like half my last lap, on talking to that lady about my arm and stuff. And she was just like being nice about it, but like I definitely got sidetracked. It was funny to me.
I think that's what took me so long to edit your video because I had to cut all that out.
I know. I remember when you were editing it, you called me into your room and you were like, why did you sit there for 10 to 15 minutes talking to the lady when you should have been racing? And I said, well, my arm was hurting and I was trying to, sit and give myself a break, but I just got time taken away from me. And you were like, oh my gosh, you're ridiculous.
Because, like, normally when Andrew and I stop, we just pull off the side, sit there for a couple seconds, get 2 swigs of water, and we take off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're about as bad as Dad. Friggin' this last race, he took about 20 minutes to go step behind a tree and take a leak mid-race. I mean, that's the same equivalent of that.
Yeah.
You two are 2 peas in a pod. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, we are.
Freaking.
We definitely are.
Oh my god.
Well, that was on my last lap. He was on his
second to last lap.
So mine was a little bit better. His was a little bit worse. Like, and that's the funny thing is like he had to go use the bathroom in the middle of the woods. But I remember every single time we have a race, he's always like, did y'all use the bathroom before? Because y'all can't get off and do it. But him literally sitting there in the middle of his race, he literally went off and go use the bathroom in the woods. Like, he literally makes sure we use the bathroom before we get on the bike because he's like, you can't stop. But he sits there and stops.
Well, it's also a different story, men versus women as well.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
It'd be kind of not kosher for you to go pop a squat mid-race.
I mean, yeah, but he even told you and Andrew that. And Andrew was like, yeah, I made sure to use the bathroom. And you were like, why are you asking this that? Like,
it's more of a like, well, I get really nervous and like my throat's dry. So I feel like I'm coughing up phlegm and then I have I have a bowel movement every race, but it's nerves.
Yeah. I remember, I'm not going to say, I remember one race, I think it was Big Buck, and I was so nervous, I literally threw up all over me, and it was like in the middle of my race, like right after the jump shot too, and I was literally sitting there vomiting while I was racing, and then I just had to pull over. And this lady came up to me and she was like, are you okay? And I said, I'm throwing up. And I literally, right as I was saying that, I vomited. And I was just sitting there vomiting. And she was like, are you okay? Or are you sick? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. Don't call my dad. I'm great. I'll just keep going. So I literally sat there and did 5 laps that race in a throw up because it was all over me. I remember it was also in my helmet too because I didn't have time to take my helmet off and it just like went in my helmet. I remember Dad had to clean that for 2 weeks and had to sit there and keep cleaning it because it smelled like vomit. It was so bad. I'm not even ashamed of it too because it happens, you know. My nerves got the best of me.
And this is why I don't eat before a race.
I didn't. I told Dad, I said, I can't run with vomit. And I literally vomited.
You did it anyway.
Yeah, so I was literally vomiting stomach acid up and it was burning my throat too. So I had to take water and I had to drink it. And I think that race, Andrew had to take my my water back. And I didn't tell him I threw up at all. And it got all over the mouthpiece too. And so Andrew was drinking out of that. It was so bad. And then I remember after the race, I said something, and Andrew's face was hilarious. He was like, he went and actually threw up and like washed his mouth out because he was like, why didn't you say anything before?
Bro hit that SpongeBob reference. You what?
Literally. And I was like, I felt so bad. And Dad literally was like, while y'all were racing, I literally told Dad, and he was like, did you throw up on, like, the thing? And I was like, yeah. And he said, and you let Andrew take that? And I said, yeah. And I was like, don't tell Andrew. And so I waited till after the race and until I went and got funnel cake for everybody.
Oh, that's why you got funnel.
Yeah, because I felt so bad, so I gave him some. It was so funny.
Oh.
I felt so bad though because I totally forgot to tell him or Dad or mention it. And then I remember, I bet when you were watching it and editing it, and I was talking about this before, but you were sitting there and you literally were editing and you were like, did you throw up? And I was like, yeah.
The mildly disappointing thing is that you can't see any of it because it never went past the handlebars.
It didn't. It just sat there and stayed in my lap. It literally,
just,
I was literally sitting there in the race and it was literally sitting in my lap the whole entire time.
You just sounded like a dog throwing up.
Literally. That's what it sounded like. If y'all are curious, you can go watch it. But
I don't know how much of it I left in there because I think I had a weak stomach after editing that.
I remember you were like, "You're so disgusting."
Yeah, I was like, "I'm not editing this. I'm not editing this. Why?"
Yeah. It was horrible, but I felt so bad for Andrew. And then after that, he said, "I'm never sharing a thing with you ever again." And he literally bought his own. Oh, it was so funny. I felt bad though.
Race day weekends are just something else.
They are. I think the best part about it is when Dad starts pulling out all of his cooking appliances and he starts making some sort of food, and it's like, I remember he was like doing chicken bog one weekend. I don't know if that was a race weekend or not, but I remember.
I don't think so, but yeah.
I don't think so, but like, just in general, if it's a race weekend or not, or just a fuller weekend, he's literally sitting there cooking something. And I remember one weekend he had chicken bog and he was cooking it like it was fried rice, and he literally fried chicken bog like fried rice. And I literally was like, oh my gosh. And like, Will named the segment of Dad cooking Greer. Or Gur. Yeah, because that's what Kyle calls him.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny. And I remember
we brought that back for the Brewer trip. That's what was funny about that.
I remember you showed Mom that picture, and she was literally sitting there laughing. She was like, "Oh my goodness, he's something else." That's another person we need to get in these videos is Mom, because she likes riding fullers too.
God, I can imagine that. Yeah. Yeah, he wastes a couple $1,000 on this one too. They bring hunks of junk home all the time, and they don't run.
Yeah.
But you have to support them.
Mm-hmm. I remember she was in one. She was in The week when we went to Busco Beach.
Well, that, and also she come walking in on when we were doing an overview of the 450 I just bought, and she's like, "Does it run?" I was like, "No." She's like, "My God," and then walks out. Like, no, it's a project.
Yeah, every single time we bring something new home, she's like, "Does it run?" And if it's
if it's no, she's like, "Really?"
She's like, "Then why? Why?"
Yeah, she's definitely the best and worst supporter.
Yeah,
she
sure.
supports 110%, but questions every decision, which
Literally
is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, is this necessary? No. Oh, well then why? I'm like,
Yeah, she's been behind the scenes of a lot of videos, like even the Camp Coker video. She was behind the scenes watching.
Yeah, she was helping.
Yeah,
she
was helping Pitt. Yeah, and I remember.
Oh, and doing business. She hooked me up with a couple pro promos. That was fun.
Yeah, she definitely helps. She's the one that Will normally goes to about, does this look okay? Is this sticker logo okay? Should I do this or should I do the one?
Well, she's my financial and PR advisor. I kind of have to.
She's
talk
also
to her
very
about that.
opinionated. So, not saying that's a bad thing because she's my mom.
If you're not careful.
But yeah, I mean, if you want the truth with something, that's the person you need to go to.
Or you shouldn't ask her, because if you don't want to hear the truth, then you should.
Yeah, because sometimes the truth will hurt when it comes to her. It really will.
Stupid? Yeah, it's really stupid. I don't know why you even would do that. That's like, why?
And then you're like, thanks, Mom. Like,
cool. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go not do that then.
Yeah. But I definitely gotta say, we got a couple people coming to the channel, though.
That's news to me.
Well, we got, the next podcast you're doing with, our mutual friend. And then we got a new family member coming in.
Bull crap. I'm not doing anything with him.
Why not?
No. He'd have to participate in a video first. He has to earn his way in.
He wants to. He likes running Fullers with us. Whether he knows how to yet.
We'd leave him in the dust.
Yeah, he really doesn't. And I mean, like, literally the other weekend when he was here and we were riding, he literally was riding Arctic Cat and somehow managed to run into a tree limb and cut his neck open. I was like, nothing serious. It was just a scratch. And I was like, how?
Just casually decapitated himself here on the property.
Yeah.
Nothing serious, though.
Yeah, he was just... He's a mess.
Yeah. Well,
I think he wants to be a part of it. I know that for sure. I think he should, personally. But my opinion apparently does not matter.
Not when it comes to this, though.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to learn how to ride the 250.
Oh, I don't have a problem teaching him. I did a pretty good job teaching the last person that rode it.
Yeah. Which, he's the person that's coming up next, y'all. Just saying. Y'all find out who he is.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good way to segue into our outro. We've talked a lot about Camp Coker and
a bunch of other things.
Throwing up on equipment.
And having Andrew drink after it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, but that's the majority of the behind the scenes stuff that you guys never would hear about. And Andrew is probably going to shoot us after this for mentioning that. So that's going to be fun.
He's actually coming later.
Yeah, so that... you're going to have to tell him that.
Well, he knows. I just think he kind of forgot about it.
Well, then don't remind him. Don't remind him.
Well,
wait until this comes out.
Yeah, this will remind him.
Wait until this comes out, and then worry about that then.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's episode what? We're up to 4 now. Or no, 5. We're up to episode 5. So this is episode 5. Gracie's last race at Camp Coker with its final cut.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being on here. It was fun.
It was.
We'll have to get you on next time. Hopefully after another race or something, or a big trip. That'll be fun. We have a couple big ones coming up that you might be able to participate in if you can.
Possibly.
Allegedly.
Hopefully.
All right. See you guys next time. You're not going to say bye?
Oh, bye, y'all.
I'm on 10 with my woadies. Shout out my homies, we gon' ball for them trophies. Like they can't hold me, thinking God, I've been chosen. Go through the motions all them times, I was hopeless. Now we the coldest.
Look, I've been trying to tell y'all since like 1-3. Got my soul up in the trunk, get my God got the key. Spirit trying to talk.